Hello friends, my name is Ruth.
And I am Sunny.
And this is Culture Shock. As you know, my in-laws have already been in Peru for a while. It's going to be about a year now. And they were asking us a lot about what people in the town thought about them being here in Peru. And well, since that date from their arrival until now, a lot has happened that we haven't discussed. And well, we're going to tell you a little bit of the gossip of what people are saying over there. Also, we'll explain everything we talk about in detail, especially its cultural meaning. Otherwise, you won't understand anything. Why do they think and say that? And honestly, when Sunny tells me, it makes me laugh. It makes him laugh too, because it's a bit funny, with all due respect, but some things may not make sense, but that's exactly what we want to explain to you. They take this topic seriously, right? Not for my in-laws, I mean for the people in the village. But anyway, here we go.
Well, I had asked my parents about what people were saying in our village, because I don't have much contact with, well, not with my friends or cousins either, also because of lack of time, right? But before, I had a friend who used to tell me things about the village, but now he also has his daughter, his family, so he's busy with his own matters too. But my dad does have a cousin who tells him everything that happens, everything people say, everything that's talked about. In Chiclayo, on the fair's last day, I recall them on a video call where he shared everything, so I heard it too. I listened carefully to everything they were saying, and I couldn't believe it. Like, how could they talk about things like that, right? Because they seem like meaningless and childish topics, but that's how it is. So let's get started. First things first, as Ruth said, my parents have been here for quite a while now. It's almost been a year. People in our village, such as my dad's uncles and grandparents and other relatives, are saying that they left their children behind, including my siblings. That they're not coming back and have left their children. That they don't care about them, about my sister's marriage, or about my younger brother. They claim they don't care anymore. When I asked my dad if they really said that, he said, yeah, that's what your uncle says. He heard it too because he was on a video call sitting with others and you could hear their voices and what they were talking about in the background. He's not coming back. He already feels like a foreigner, right? They were saying things like that, right? They claim that he no longer cares about his kids. They also said that his daughter is already growing old. My sister is young, by the way, but that she's getting old and my dad doesn't care about her marriage. Their topic of conversation is my parents being here, our marriage, and so on. But, well, for now we have other plans that we'll tell you about soon, right? Later on.
Okay, friends, you might be wondering why they claim to have been abandoned. First, to clarify, my in-laws are not kids. My sister-in-law is already 27 years old. She's an adult, and my other brother-in-law is about 20, right?
Yes, 21.
21. So they're not children, so you can't say they were abandoned. They're already young adults. Obviously, since they live with their parents, they're not married yet. So they're at an adult age, yes, but they're not children. So claiming that they were abandoned is, for us, especially for me, just way too exaggerated. To me, abandoning someone means when your child is underage, right? In that case, you can say they've been abandoned. However, my in-laws are here working, and they obviously send money to their children every month to meet their needs, right? For their expenses. So they're not abandoned. And besides, as I said and I emphasized, they're not kids, they're already young adults. Then they say my sister-in-law is old. My sister-in-law is young. She's 27 years old. Of course, why do they say it like that, culturally speaking? Because, well, for people over there, a woman at a certain age should already be married, right? So for the neighbors and distant relatives who live there, who criticize my in-laws, my sister-in-law should already be married. For them, it's even worse. Coming from a small town, daughters are married off even earlier. In cities, they still wait until 30, right? 31 or 32 maybe, but in small towns, girls get married sooner. So my sister-in-law must be one of the few women at her age who is still not married. That's why they're criticizing my father-in-law, although he wants her to get married, right? Of course, my sister-in-law also knows that's how it's going to be. But he's giving her a chance to finish her studies because I think she's doing her master's degree.
Yes. She had already earned a master's degree and completed her major and is preparing to become a teacher. Well, this year she finished. 2 days ago, she went to pick up her diploma, so now she also has a degree to teach.
Instead of admiring that a woman is preparing herself to become, a great professional, they're just waiting for her to get married as if, I don't know, they're going to support that marriage later. It doesn't make a lot of sense. Those criticisms of my father-in-law are only out of envy. There wouldn't be any other explanation.
It's mostly out of envy because even my sister's studies were criticized. Well, that's what they asked. How much longer will she be studying? She already has her master's degree. If she studies a lot, they're interested. But it's okay?
It's okay.
Sure, that's fine. He'll get a good offer, right? But I think it's mostly just jealousy because no one from, from that society or where we live has studied as much as my sister, right? Because I don't have a master's degree, but she has achieved it and I'm very happy for her. I think it's mostly envy since she's very studious, always gets good grades and frequently receives scholarships. And I think that's why mostly out of envy because she has studied so much. They married off their daughters very young. Some were just finishing school when they got married, so they haven't had the chance to achieve much in life. As a result, some of my cousins have ended up with many children. So I think that's mostly it. They can't accept that we are making something out of our lives.
Yes, well, I already explained the cultural reasons for these criticisms, right? But personally speaking, my personal opinion. And I keep telling Sunny, these are things that sometimes as a Latina you don't understand. Because here we expect whether you're a woman or a man to move forward, study, succeed, right? Whatever you want to do in the future. But over there, instead of feeling proud that the woman is achieving so much, they want her to get married. So it doesn't make much sense to me to wait. Sometimes they are humble families, so they marry her off to someone who is also from a humble background. And both of them, well, how do they get ahead? It's difficult.
And so on with the children of their children. And it's like the cycle just continues, right?
Of course. On the other hand, your sister, in this case, is already an educated woman. If she were to get married, her husband would also be someone educated.
Of course, that's what they don't want to see. I mean, it's a bit complicated, isn't it? Sometimes it's the people who you think are on your side, but they're not really on your side. They're with you, but they're not on your side.
Yes, that's a very wise saying. There are people who are with you and want to see you succeed, but not more than them. That's true. But anyway, besides that, there are many other things that so-called friends say.
Yes, but one at a time. Another thing they say is that my parents have become travelers. I mean that they've become younger, primarily because of the way they dress now. My dad now wears jeans and regular polo shirts. So he looks younger too, right? My mom also sometimes wears palazzo pants. They say, who do they think they are? They're acting like kids. They already have 4 children and grandchildren. And yes, they also travel. Sometimes we go to fairs and visit different places. Thank God we've had the opportunity to get to know different places in Peru, their culture. So we're very grateful. However, people from small towns aren't always as grateful. They're envious. Because they see that my parents have gone to the beach to see new places. And since my town is days away from the nearest beach, some people have never seen a beach or the sea. But my parents have been able to see these things here. They've seen mountains that are also far from my town. And so they've also been able to travel by plane. So these are the things that I think people can't accept or can't be happy about, right? They're wondering how they can enjoy themselves while leaving their children in India. And they're going out, they're meeting ostriches. They saw that video where he went to Chiclayo, right? About giant birds, that they're there, this and that. There are a lot of things. They also say that they were probably eating meat too, this and that. People like to talk a lot.
Yes, and they say this as criticism in a really mean way. Unlike Sunny, who's joking, they rebuke it. But well, culturally I think it has no explanation. That's just how it is.
Pure envy.
Pure envy because they can wear jeans. I mean, yes, it is kind of, it's not so much cultural, but more traditional.
Of course.
From their town. The issue of children as well. You could say, at least I could say, my perception of what happens over there, Sunny will correct me if I'm wrong, they act like young people don't grow up in the same way they do here. I mean, they don't evolve in the same way they do over there. So to speak, what happens is that here a young person is more mature, either at their age or in their own time, so to speak. However, a young person over there, even if they're in their 20s, often acts like a teenager or a child until they get married. That's something I've felt based on what I've seen and experienced over there. I don't know what you think since you're from there.
It's because of the way parents treat them. They're always the ones making decisions for them, right? And even things like their studies, getting married, or choosing a profession, all of this, right? So a young person who is 20, 22, or even 25, 26 years old cannot make their own decisions, so they don't mature in that sense because their parents are always there. Don't do that, don't do that. No, that's not good, that's not good. And the problem is that neither of them is right. They might be older, but sometimes they lack experience and aren't aware of how the world has changed. So, even when I learned Spanish, they criticize me too. What's that witch language? What's with this guy? What's it called? Invoking the devil?
Oh, yes. Invoking.
Invoking, yes. That's what they used to say, right? So they don't progress there. Anywhere else, learning a new language is a good thing, right? Everyone can do it for various reasons. But the thing is, they criticize everything. They don't see, they're not aware of how things have changed.
Of course, that's partly due to ignorance, isn't it? Sometimes they're people, mostly the people there, well, they're people who haven't had higher education, so they don't know much either. Maybe you can understand them, but that doesn't mean they're right. I wasn't wrong about what I sensed. Even though they were young, already adults, they behaved like teenagers, like kids, right?
Yes.
And that's precisely why they think that my in-laws were abandoned, because they still see them as unprotected children. Something like that, right? Even though for us, they're already adults, young adults. And well, about the trips, that's just pure envy because, well, in small towns, unfortunately, perhaps due to the economy, although there are people who have money, there are wealthy people. I imagine they just don't travel because, I don't know,
maybe
to save money.
They think it's a waste of money.
They think traveling is a waste of money.
Yes.
But if someone travels with their own money, why would they criticize them? They're not asking you for travel money.
Of course.
Well, I mean, having the possibility to travel and not doing it, but criticizing the one who does want to do it is a bit strange.
And now they also have a problem with people selling food. Since they know my parents are selling food here, offering authentic Indian cuisine, mostly homemade, and people like it, right? Paratha and all the stews and everything. And they have a problem with that too. They think, oh, do they think they're great cooks or what? Yeah, because they've seen my dad making things like sweet laddu. Since he had never cooked in India, he had never even set foot in the kitchen, watching him here, being able to do all these things. I don't know what it is. Maybe it's sexist, but they criticize him for it. Like, who does he think he is? He is in the kitchen making sweets. He used to cut fabric like a tailor. He went from cutting fabric to making lattice and other sweets. They think it is shameful to sell food and things like that. People talk, don't they?
Well, this does have a cultural explanation. Also, as I said, all the criticism people give is just envy, though it does have a cultural aspect. In some parts of India, especially villages, not everywhere. In villages, city people live in their own world. No matter if it's a city here in Peru, China, or India, everyone lives in their own world, right? But in each country, people might get a bit more involved and such. However, when it comes to villages in India, selling food is not highly regarded. I mean, they see it as something that only people, how could I say it?
Like, only impoverished people with low income sell food. It is all about the caste system. Well, in big Indian cities, that concept is disappearing, but in small villages, it still remains. So selling food is something that people from very low castes do, right? And that's how it is. That's the reason, I think, and sexism, as I mentioned earlier. Now that my dad is in the kitchen, they see him as a kind of servant. He's helping my mom, and that's what they can't stand. Because the people who criticize, I know them, I've met them, they've never even set foot in the kitchen, and I don't think they even know how to turn on the stove, right? Yeah, that's it. That's what they criticize so much.
This is very shocking for me. People criticize my father-in-law for being in the kitchen. They say only women belong there. Also, sexism in India, especially in the small villages, mostly comes from women. It's the woman who doesn't allow her son to help out in the kitchen. It's like, no, your wife will cook for you later. Why would you learn to cook if you're going to get married? Like that?
Yeah, that's how they talk.
Of course. For us, it's crucial, at least for me, since I have a son, you have to raise someone useful. Of course, self-sufficient, right?
To be able to fend for himself.
Because we don't know if my son will want to go abroad someday too. And if he knows how to cook, then he'll be able to make the meals he likes. Or to another city, like now. Sunny sometimes traveled alone before his parents came, and he prepared himself because I taught him.
Of course, it worked out well for me. I did my own things.
So this also depends. This is also because of the macho mentality in the villages that doesn't allow it. It's not common to see a man cooking, so it really shocks them, especially the women.
Men say the same thing too. Maybe it's because
they don't do it.
They don't do it, and they see it as something bad.
My father-in-law has been willing to learn because work is work and they do it honestly, so there's nothing wrong with it. Some international chefs cook well, and my father-in-law is learning and helping, but my mother-in-law is the real cook. And he has learned how to chop, how to fry, how to turn on the stove. He has learned the very basics. He didn't even know how to turn on the stove, just imagine.
Yes, he used to ask my mom, how do you turn that thing on?
Now he knows. It's a major achievement, of course. And another thing is that many people there think it's better to work for someone else than to start your own business. They're terrified of starting their own business.
Yes.
Because they're afraid of failure, but it's not ideal to start out thinking you're going to fail, right?
Yes.
That also depends on the type of mindset you have. Many people there believe that starting a business isn't really the right thing to do. It's better to look for a job, any government job, and be happy. That's the best option. Yes, there are many people who have built big companies from their own businesses. So my in-laws are starting their own business and they're doing well, thank God. As we mentioned, it makes us laugh a little because what they say doesn't make much sense to us now.
Of course.
Because starting a business, well, that's great, right? Congratulations. Learning how to cook, excellent.
Perfect.
It's great that your daughter is an educated woman who wants to keep improving herself.
And with clothes too, it's not a problem since they're not in India or a closed society. Here, no one judges your clothes, so you can dress however you like. And it's not like they wear really exaggerated clothes either, just normal clothes, because jeans are nothing special, they're common. They're a worldwide piece of clothing because people all over the world wear jeans. The same goes for my mom, who uses palazzo pants. In India, they also wear palazzo pants, but they are shocked to see her wearing her palazzo and the long kurta without a veil. Perhaps that's what shocked them, that she wasn't wearing a veil. But,
of course,
who is going to cover their face here?
For those who don't understand, in the village, women have to walk around with their faces covered. I mean, with a veil. But that's because it's part of their traditions. Here, that's not part of our traditions. Here, women don't wear veils. Here, women can wear jeans at any age. She can wear, well, a short shirt, a long shirt. Everyone dresses however they want. Foreigners should adapt to the country they're in, and my in-laws are doing that, right?
Of course.
So they're wearing the clothes they want. And that's maybe what people from small towns don't understand. Maybe they think it's the same here too, I don't know.
That's what they might think.
They might think, oh, but why don't they cover their faces? Because it's simply not our custom, and they criticize this a lot. What else have they said? Still, everything my in-laws have achieved is for good. But even so, it's criticized.
Yes, and now you might be wondering, but what do my parents think or say about this? Well, at first these comments did bother them a bit, but now after living here for so long, they've seen how it is. And now it's like they don't really care anymore either. They say, it doesn't matter anyway, are they going to feed us or what? We don't owe them, so it doesn't matter. And that's the positive side. At first, all of this affected them while they were living in India, but I now tell them that they might face criticism when they return. Their response is simply, who cares? No one can take away your experiences.
They say no one can take away our joy.
The people they met here, the parties they've enjoyed, no one can take that away because it remains as a memory, right? They have photos and videos of this. That's what my dad said. It doesn't matter. Why should I care?
Wow, his mindset has changed a lot. It's good. It's really good.
And that's how it is. Well, that's good because it shouldn't matter. Because the thing is, they're not doing anything wrong. If you do something wrong, that's when you might feel ashamed or something. But if you don't do anything wrong, why feel ashamed or feel bad?
Of course, that's another cultural issue. Being afraid of what people will say in my in-laws' village. And surely in many other villages, generally in India.
Yes.
They're very afraid of what people will say. They don't do things because they're concerned about what the neighbor or their sibling might say. Sometimes they don't start a business for precisely this reason. They don't wear certain clothes precisely for that reason. They're afraid that person might not talk to you afterwards. It's very complicated. It isn't very easy. Here you think, well, if they don't want to talk to me, so be it. Who cares? I can think this way, but they have a different way of thinking. We already know that my in-laws' way of thinking has changed a lot. It's true. Everything they've enjoyed and eaten, no one can take away from them. And well, just so you know, society over there is a little bit hypocritical too. They may criticize now, but when my in-laws arrive, they'll just say, glad you had fun. That's how it's going to be. I swear. I bet you that's how it'll be, right? It's not like they're going to stop talking to you or reject you. No. My in-laws are going to arrive like celebrities, and it'll be like, wow, they've come from abroad, and the neighbors will come over and ask all kinds of questions. It's going to be like that.
Well, friends, you often ask this question. What do people in the village think about my parents coming here? And we answered that question and also explained the cultural mentality, because sometimes it can be a cultural issue, sometimes it is envy, or a combination of both. So this is the reason why they think like that or act this way.
We explained the cultural issues so you understand. You wouldn't know certain things unless you've lived there. Just like they're not here, they don't understand certain things either. That's why they criticize it. We hope this video has also helped you learn about the villages of India. Life is very different in every part of the world, and it helps us to learn. So we hope you enjoyed this video. Sake karimbe.